The Seattle Seahawks and Los Angeles Rams locked into a battle over who could control the clock worse in the fourth quarter of a neck-and-neck affair at CenturyLink Field, and unfortunately, head coach Pete Carroll won that battle much to his fanbase's chagrin. Carroll's game-managing skills have been under fire the entire season, and it led to him getting zero benefit of the doubt from some within the 12s following a heartbreaking end to a game the Seahawks controlled almost for the entirety of the matchup until the back half of the fourth quarter. Just a handful of bad breaks caused the Seahawks to lose control of the game and thus take a loss by a score of 33-31. Seahawks go back to the drawing board after a tragic 33-31 home loss to the Rams. Don't miss any critical updates. Stay informed right along with us. Take 5 seconds to sign up for our free Seahawks newsletter now. The first tough break was cornerback Shaquill Griffin getting the receiver a tad bit too early on a critical 4th and 2. Instead of a turnover on downs, the Rams got new life and scored a critical touchdown to bring them within a point. The next hard break was holding penalty that caused the Seahawks to lose control of the game when they were in position to kick the go-ahead field goal and bleed the clock, with the Rams having no timeouts. The lousy break was Carroll having to call his last timeout with the Rams punt unit on the field. It allowed McVay to change his mind and go for it on 4th and inches with a quarterback sneak. With no timeouts, the game was sealed on that play. That final decision by Carroll led to some harsh criticism from the media and the fan base. Here's how it all broke down. On that timeout, Pete Carroll called it before the measurement. Then after the measurement, Pete says the refs basically asked if he still wanted the timeout, since the clock would have stopped anyway. Pete said yeah because he thought Rams would bleed the clock. Duggar, Michael Sean, at Mike Duggar, October 8, 2018. So one thing got lost in translation on Sunday. Carroll actually decided to call timeout twice. Before the measurement, he informed the officials he wanted to call time. Because of the fact they had to measure for the spot, the clock automatically stopped and Carroll was afforded the chance to rethink his initial timeout with the advantage of seeing the Rams punting unit on the field. He elected to call timeout and keep the clock stopped at 1:39. McVay changed his mind and set his offense back out to run a quarterback sneak that they converted easily and won the game without having to punt it back to quarterback Russell Wilson. Pete Carroll wasn't sure why I asked about whether, in hindsight, he regretted calling that timeout. Someone clarified that I was asking, cause it appeared LA changed its mind after that. Pete dismissed it, saying McVay can do whatever he wants. Duggar, Michael Sean, at Mike Duggar, October 8, 2018. Carroll doesn't quite get what all the fuss is over because of the normalcy of that football play. He doesn't believe the idea that McVay changed his mind on the decision has anything to do with his decision. McVay always had the option of going for it on 4th down, but with more time to think about it, he was convinced into actually being more aggressive. Carroll doesn't believe McVay showing punt should factor into his decision at all. Sean McVay's smarter than Brian Schottenheimer and Pete Carroll. That's what it boils down to. Sam Hawk Badger, at HWKBGR, October 7, 2018. Smarter how? Maybe, they have different philosophies, but I'm not sure how you came away from that game thinking that McVay is out and out smarter. He didn't have any timeouts with more than 9 minutes remaining in the game. He also made the wrong decision to send his punt team out, and happy to get lucky the decision was made before Carroll called timeout. He didn't outcoach anyone on Sunday. If anything, with a more talented team, coaching made the game shift to the Seahawks' favor. I don't like Pete Carroll. Stephen Amell, at Stephen Amell, October 7, 2018. The Green Arrow, or at least the actor who plays him, isn't a big fan of Pete Carroll right now after that decision. He made that unhappiness known during the whole issue with Carroll calling timeout and allowing McVay to change his mind. As far as call-outs go, this criticism is pretty mild. But one of the more famous Seahawks fans didn't enjoy what he saw from his coach on Sunday. It was a tough loss for all. Weird seeing so many question Pete Carroll right now. Of course, the play calling has always been an issue since the infamous Super Bowl interception in 2015, but largely Darrell Bevell got hung with that anger from the fan base. After missing the playoffs and wasting Russell Wilson in 2017, fans are beginning to question Carroll more and more and scrutinize every little decision. This decision shows how hyper-focused everyone is on finding faults in Carroll. That timeout by Pete Carroll was costly. Also, if know how to do it, QB sneaks are like 99.9% effective for getting less than a yard. Kills me that more teams don't do it. Ross Tucker, at Ross Tuckernful, October 7, 2018. This really highlights how wrong McVay was forever thinking it was a good idea to punt, more so than it proves Pete Carroll was in the wrong for calling a timeout. He had 4th and inches per game and he almost allowed one of the best big-game quarterbacks in the NFL to have the ball back with that option in front of him. If he had made the correct decision in the first place, this topic wouldn't even exist. The ironic thing to me is that if Sean McVay hadn't outthought himself, Carroll's timeout wouldn't have mattered. It would have just been a normal timeout. McVay almost making the wrong call made the normal football move look not normal. Derek Lewis, at Lewis Book It, October 8, 2018. And it's pretty ironic that Carroll's getting the criticism and McVay's being labeled a genius. Carroll made the normal football decision to preserve time on the clock. McVay was also making a normal football decision, but one that has been revealed time and time again to be the wrong call. Converting 4th and inches by quarterback sneak is relatively easy stuff. He should have been always going for it, and if his offense had been on the field when Carroll called timeout, it just looks like normal football. As most know, I am not a Pete Carroll apologist. But in this case, I believe all 32 coaches would have taken the timeout there and not let punt team run 30 seconds off clock. Mitch Levy, at Mitch. Seattle, October 8, 2018. This argument is rather lame. Just because of the idea that all 32 coaches are into making the wrong decision doesn't make it any better. The only credence this argument does have is that it shows that no matter who you place in Carroll's position, they make the same call, and thus, it's not a tragic flaw for Carroll specifically. Would any coach have anticipated being able to trap McVay in his decision, or that he may have changed his mind upon more time to think? Probably not. It doesn't automatically make it the right call though. Just the standard call. Standard isn't always good. Smart of Pete Carroll to set up that QB sneak by Goff with the timeout. Zach Harper, at Talk Hoops, October 7, 2018. While this is a funny take, it's also a bit unfair to Pete Carroll. NBA analyst Zach Harper isn't necessarily concerned with being fair to Carroll while making jokes. He's known for his Twitter comedic timing. But the overall sentiment is a bit unfair to Carroll. There is a very real worry about the clock running down too far that Carroll has to think about. Not enough credence is being given to that line of thought. Pete Carroll used the timeout to preserve more than 30 seconds of game clock. It's a decision you make every single time. Danny O'Neil, at Danny O'Neil, October 8, 2018. 710 ESPN. Seattle Seahawks analyst Danny O'Neil may be too far the other way. He doesn't see the other side of the argument and only sees the opportunity to save the time, which only every NFL coach would do. But here's the thing, without the ball in your hand, it doesn't matter how much time you save. 60 seconds and Wilson with the ball in his hands and a timeout is better than no ball at all. And allowing McVay to change his mind and end the game meant no ball for Wilson. Of course, it's hard to know that's the choice in real time, so there needs to be a consideration to that. Memo to Pete Carroll, giving Sean McVay more time to outsmart you is not a good idea. Michael David Smith, at Michael Dav Smith, October 7, 2018. It's already been said a couple of times here, but McVay didn't outsmart Carroll. He just stopped outsmarting himself. McVay should have never been punting and should have always been going for it on 4th and inches. If he had been doing the right thing from the beginning, Carroll's timeout looks routine. It's because McVay gave his opponent the chance to trap him in the wrong decision, and that opportunity was lost that the controversy arises. But this isn't the case of McVay being smarter. I will never forgive Pete Carroll for this game. CJ Tombarello at Tombarello, October 7, 2018. Whatever you believe Carroll did wrong in this game, he's not the reason the Seahawks lost. His team made some critical mistakes when the game was being decided and it caused them to lose. Griffin's penalty on 4th and 2 caused them to lose. Not getting organized following Tyler Lockett's big play which led to the false start caused them to lose. DJ Fluker holding penalty caused them to lose. Giving up an immediate first down to Todd Gurley on the Rams' final possession caused them to lose. Letting them get to 3rd and 1 and then 4th and inches on the final possession caused them to be in position to lose. Carroll made a choice you can argue was wrong, but it didn't lose his team the game. The players decided the matchup. Pete Carrollized his defense. Bill Barnwell, at Bill Barnwell, October 7, 2018. Another funny sentiment that's also probably a little unfair to Carroll. His defense actually wasn't on the field when the Rams were going to punt, and then he had to call timeout to stop the clock. Either way, that timeout was getting called, so his defense didn't get cold. It was just naturally game mechanics. Probably overanalyzing a joke, but it feeds into the sentiment that Carroll is a dum-dum, which is unwarranted here. You can't control what the other team decides to do. You only decide what's best for your team. Danny O'Neill, at Danny O'Neill, October 8, 2018. Here's where I personally wholeheartedly disagree. Part of being a good coach is anticipating what the other team is going to do and making the correct read based on that situation. Bill Belichick is particularly adept at that. Carroll probably should have seen that McVay had made the wrong decision and trapped him into it, with the idea he could change his mind and that would be disastrous for his team. If McVay had changed his mind in real time, you can always call the timeout then. Pete Carroll botched just about everything there is to botch in the final minutes. Curtis Rogers, at a kid from Kent, October 7, 2018. The more damning timeout decision was not calling timeout prior to the 2-minute warning, but Carroll claimed they wanted to be in full control of the clock following the 2-minute warning and that having timeouts causes the other team to change their mindset and play calling. He had some sound logic on that point too, but regarding saving time on the clock, he didn't maximize that. This is so damn stupid. Seriously, Pete Carroll effed up the end of the game. Lost this game. Keith Myers, at Myers NFL, October 7, 2018. Seahawks fans are basically finding any reason to criticize Pete Carroll and blame him for losses. He didn't lose this game. He made a bad decision that's hard to parse without the help of hindsight, and you'd be hard-pressed to find another coach who would have done it differently. That doesn't make the decision okay, but it should make it a bit more palatable. Instead, people are going nuts over Carroll for really no reason.